Welcome to the PTA Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, John Kelliger. I'm accompanied by my co-host, Nick Kelling. Nick, how are you doing today?
Howdy. I'm doing great. Got
So,
some
Nick,
good leads in, got some good videos uploaded. Ready to make some money.
did you do the shout out? Did you upload them to your YouTube?
Yep, I got another one coming tomorrow as well.
Link in description to Nick's YouTube. It's gonna be bussin'. How many followers do you have now?
117. I've stayed that for quite a while.
Yeah. And what type of content can someone expect on Nick Kelling's YouTube page?
Real estate in Houston.
Real estate in Houston. So, like we said this once, we'll say it again. If you're in need of a home in Houston, Texas, the boy Nick is your guy.
Yep. Really anywhere, and then I can connect you with an expert within the area. So
Nick has a Rolodex of experts just chomping at the bit to get one of his clients.
Yep.
Are you got to be planned for the weekend?
Locked down 2 open houses that I'll be doing, and then got an appointment on the buyer side and the listing side.
Yeah.
So packed full weekend.
Yeah. If you're watching on the YouTube, which I know that you are, got a new haircut. I look like Big Bird right now. That's a tough look.
You got to put some gel in it.
Yeah, I got to gel it out. I want to give a couple shout outs to the boy Yoda. He made an appearance on our Instagram page. He was hooking and jabbing in the mean streets of 29 Palms. And
Nice.
we want to shout out to the boy because we know you're listening. We want to give a shout out to Les all the way down in Florida. Hope you enjoy that nice weather. I'm definitely freezing my tail off up here. So shout out to all the boys who are listening.
It's been chilling in Houston. It's nice.
Is it chilly or is it warm in Houston?
It's pretty nice. I think 60s, 70s.
Okay.
In the morning, sometimes we're 50s.
Some question in the comments. I know, like when the Dallas Cowboys played the Packers, there's like it's like a cool wave, whatever you want to call that. Not a heat wave. What's the opposite of a heat wave? It was just cold in Texas.
A freeze.
Yeah. So that's why I asked that question. We're going to talk about Nick. Do you have any more catching up admin things you want to mention?
Nope, but I'm excited to play this video for you guys.
That was a great transition.
Screw China.
Yeah, so if you've been listening for a while, we've been talking about China and Chinese real estate and how I've been saying it's a bubble, how a lot of experts, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but how a lot of people are mentioning China and China's real estate. So, Nick, can you play this clip?
Yeah, I say screw China, but like they do have a huge role in infrastructure and building infrastructure within the world. But so it's definitely going to be bad, but we'll bounce back.
Developer Evergrande disclosed the full scale of losses incurred by its default almost 2 years ago. The group, which was the most indebted developer in the world at the time of its failure, said in filings it lost $81 billion over 2021 and 2022. Evergrande and companies like it benefited from China's decades of urbanization, but in the process accumulated vast debts that the government struggled to limit. The group's default in late 2021 sparked a host of other failures across a sector where activity remains depressed, posing a severe conundrum for policymakers. The group's results, which were delayed significantly and showed total liabilities increased to $340 billion, are a rare glimpse into the company at a time when it remains locked in an opaque restructuring process.
So before we get into it, I just want to give a shout out to America because when we run our economy to the ground, we run the world's economy to the ground. When China does it, it only affects China. So I want to tap ourselves on the back. Let's give America a little golf clap. Yes, when we run our economy to the ground, we run yours into the ground.
So I will say, like, the construction side in China, I mean, there's no OSHA. So like people die all the time. With construction. I was talking to a guy he's from Saudi Arabia, and they contracted China to build some of their stuff, and that dude was in charge of like oversight, and he said that there was no regulation, and like this was from Saudi Arabia looking into China, and it was like, oh shit, like they don't even have regulations. and like
Well,
people were dying on the work site like every single day. And if someone died in America on a work site, it's gonna be national TV.
I think that just goes to show the different phases their economy is in, because those types of claims you could have levied against America in the early, basically during the Industrial Revolution, where the bedrock for us to become a global power was set. But obviously, we don't do that now. Now there's unions. Now there's OSHA. Now there's a million different things where you got to watch your six when you're building. And also that goes in the show with less regulation, how quickly they can build. They build all the cities very quickly. Imagine trying to build something in America. Legitimately, it's a pain in the ass. A lot of people say don't go into building because if someone on the board in your local town or ordinance could veto your bill, and you might not build that building. If you want to build a shopping center, to build not even a major, but to build a building, a multi-unit building in your town is not just strictly a real estate project. It is a political project.
Yeah, especially when you have to deal with the zoning, and then making sure you're pulling all the right permits, meeting those timelines. Especially if you're trying to build some kind of commercial building within like a residential area. And even if they do approve it, they're going to approve it with buffer zones. So you don't just care about your area that you're building in, but you're caring about the surrounding areas and making sure that you're paying for a buffer zone around that area, in between zones. So that's not even going to make you money.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
And in my tiny, less than 1,000 square foot house, we did get all the permits, and there was a dumpster in my driveway, and just so happens the person across the street was redoing their house as well. And the inspector just saw the dumpster, came across and knocked on the door, said, "Where's this permit? Where's that permit? Where's this permit?" And it was just like a whole facade, just because my neighbor was getting stuff done, and he just swung by to knock on my door. So even in a tiny little house, the government finds a way.
Where's your permit, sir? Get out of my front porch right now, or I'm going to grab my Remington.
Yes, this is Illinois. There was no Remington being. But yeah, I think that just goes to show how, because a lot of people talk about how there's a quote unquote housing crisis, how Americans' infrastructure is crumbling, and a lot of people are saying those are major issues in America. Well, it's hard to do any of those things because there's so much red tape.
Yeah, and we do bash about permits and all that stuff, making sure you have your inspections. But in China, there wasn't that regulation. There was no oversight of that, and they're currently having buildings falling and collapsing, like the skyscrapers. Now, this is not really public news, but if you go look up a skyscraper falling in China, I mean, they're falling at least 2 per year.
As much as people love to hate on America and an America economy and our trades, we really do it better than everyone else. You can,
absolutely.
You can say Japan or Germany, how their architecture is so strong, but America, baby, and they're dealing with far less. The scale is far less.
Yeah, and then we have national disasters come in, buildings fall, But if we didn't have these regulations in place, you know how it would be 10 times worse. In other countries, when a national disaster hits and they don't have nearly the regulations or even capabilities of building buildings at a high quality like we do, it destroys that area. Like example would be in Fuji when they had that huge earthquake. It destroyed whole cities, wiped out thousands of people within cities. Their infrastructure had no regulations. They didn't have engineers, architects, and all these things, and they killed a lot of people. And if that would have happened in America, maybe some smaller buildings might have fall. Maybe a few people would die, but not at that scale.
And you have to tip your cap to America when disasters happen. We do give it to the engineers so it doesn't happen again. Case in point, the earthquakes in San Francisco in the early 1900s. I believe it was 1905 or 1907. Don't quote me on the exact date, but there was major earthquakes there. It basically destroyed majority of the city. But now there's rules and regulations how you construct these buildings, so when an earthquake does eventually happen, it doesn't topple the whole city. Same thing with Chicago and the Chicago fire, how there's certain regulations put in place so you don't burn the whole city down again. Because
And
correct me if I'm wrong, when's the last time an entire American city burned to the ground?
Hawaii.
Yes, that's
But
yeah.
but their building codes are about to change a lot.
Yeah. I think the only ones that burnt down were the older and wooden ones that were grandfathered in. Grandfathered in. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe those are the only ones because didn't all the billionaire houses survive?
Yeah, well, because they were probably at a higher level of building. Those billionaires were like, "Hey, I'm gonna actually build my house at a higher expectation than what the state of Hawaii requires me to do."
I heard that they were lighting the poor people's houses on fire and hiding in there. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that. I'm like, I mean, it kind of sucks that all the rich people's houses didn't catch on fire, but that fire zone area around their house, like, of course it didn't catch on fire. They had miles of land in between the fire and the millionaire's house. So, like, yeah, the fire's not gonna jump that far.
Yeah.
All those houses burnt down because they were side by side.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
So
Burning
it's
a
definitely going to increase.
there.
And then they're going to increase firewalls probably within their building codes. And
because people got stuck on the road to Honda, that highway, and they went into the water, and a lot of people drowned, or they stayed in their cars and got burned to death. How would you rather go, drown or burn to death?
those are the bad too.
I think those are first round picks for worst ways to die.
Yeah. Are they gonna like get my body pretty quickly? Because I'd rather drown to death just because they'll be able to achieve my body. If I'm burnt to death, then I mean there's no. But if I'm in a building, then it's actually suffocating from the smoke. So it really depends. Am I suffocating from the smoke, or is like I'm just like being lit on fire?
Suffocating from the smoke.
Nick, probably drowning. Probably drowning.
Yeah, especially in that situation, out to sea. Just let me go with the waves, baby. Let me just become one with the ocean.
Yeah, I was actually.
No.
My wife and I were talking about this, and I was like, honestly, getting old on the cruise ship and then just like having a heart attack and just like falling off the edge of the cruise ship and just letting the waves take you.
I want to die like Lamar Odom, and if you don't know, look it up.
I will gonna have to look that up. I don't know.
Lamar Odom died like a true American hero.
Or the AC/DC singer.
No, he played.
No. But the AC/DC singer, he got super drunk, threw up in his car, and then drowned in his throw up. That's the way to go.
That's blue collar.
That's very blue collar.
Being a rock star, I feel like would be the greatest lifestyle you could live. Like, being a pro athlete, yeah, of course, that's pretty sweet. But I feel like being a rock star would be the best.
But in like the 60s, the 70s.
Oh, the 80s, baby.
The 80s, yeah.
60s, it was hippies. Screw it. I hate the hippies, honestly.
80s.
80s.
Right. 70s, 80s.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s. Before the cell phone, for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine.
You could, like, moon someone and, like, nobody would really know.
Yeah.
Nobody could have pictures or something.
Another question, Nick. Would you rather be a cowboy or a samurai?
Cowboy.
Completely agree.
For American.
A samurai would be a crazy lifestyle because you live by the sword, you die by a sword. I would love to be saying that, just walking around before I get in battle, be like, that would be my one-liner. Be you live, you die by the sword, but just conquering the West, battling the Indians, got a 6-shooter in your wits, playing poker, chewing tobacco, just real life John Wayne. I know that's really romanticized because you'd be freezing your tail off in Wyoming and you get chased by the Comanche and they're about to take you. That's what it really was like. You didn't see people for months on end. But
you die of dysentery.
Yeah. Imagine dying because you pooped too many times. Like you just had bad bad case of I get diarrhea every other day. Imagine just a bad case of the diarrhea, and next thing you know, you're dead in the middle of New Mexico. I can't think of a worse state in the union than New Mexico. It offers nothing. It's not beautiful. No one cool comes from there. It doesn't have any good farmland. It doesn't have good mountains. New Mexico's it's a skid mark of the United States. I come from Illinois, so I know what a real skid mark looks like.
Literally, I see on the streets.
That's for sure. So getting back to China down that rabbit hole, basically, if for all the new listeners out here, basically China had their own '08 style bubble but what was different about it was in America, at least you owned your home, because in China, you go to the bank and you say, I want to buy this house. And they said, okay, that house is going to be $150,000, or let's just say it's $100,000. They give you a loan for $100,000 and you start paying. And then they went to this company and this company said, oh, we'll build you that house. But they never did. So at least in our '08, you got to either stay in your home and battle through the upside down mortgage and eventually come out on top, because obviously hindsight being 2020, we went through one of the biggest real estate booms in the past. From 2010 to 2022 was probably we experienced some of the greatest value growth in real estate in the United States. So that is one of the major differences, I would say, between America and China, as well as that we mentioned, we pat ourselves on the back, a little golf clap. When we run our economy into the ground, the whole globe runs into the ground. When China does it, no one really cares. So we have that. So for all those people out there thinking, oh, China's the greatest economy, yada, yada, you're wrong. We knew you were. That's just how it is.
It's not even close.
They can't even create their own ideas. They got to steal everything from everyone else.
And they just steal stuff from the Koreans and the Japanese and the.
No, they just steal tech from the entire West. That's one of those things it just infuriates me when people talk. It doesn't infuriate me. That's an over-exaggeration. It bewilders me when people say America or the West is dumb. Yes, do we have some idiotic people with blue hair and bad teeth and crappy skin who haven't seen the light of day in ages and who couldn't even stand up straight or walk up a mountain?
Obesity is pretty high.
Yes. But
people can't even run a mile.
Yeah, I can throw this football over a mile. But we still produce great things. Like we're basically FaceTiming each other with Max, and we in different states. It's not even that big of a deal. There's little to no lag.
And we get the chips from Taiwan, which is not China.
Yeah. And also, did you watch Jamie Dimon's new interview with the Washington Post?
I watched some of it.
I never thought China was going to invade Taiwan, and now, without a shadow of a doubt, I know for certain they're not going to invade Taiwan. Because
I never really thought they would. I thought they were just yapping about it and stuff like that.
All these
just to keep their people thinking that that's a goal and that's what we're working towards, but they don't have any intentions of actually doing it.
Yes, because you brought up a good point. If we ceased all trade with China, their economy would collapse.
Oh yeah. I mean, their goal is to eventually, not depend on us as much. So then they can achieve that, but that will never happen.
They cannot. Their population is aging. They did the one-child policy. China is a dying state right now. For a brief moment, they had the world by the balls. But then the balls were old, sweaty 8-year-old man in gym class. And next thing you know,
they're all dead now.
Yeah, it just didn't work for them.
No, I mean, our greatest threat is China, but I mean it's not going to be
I disagree.
They're not going to.
I think our greatest threat is an insider threat when they let in hundreds of thousands of people through the border. You don't know who they're, because they're not just strictly Hispanic people, or as Donald Trump would say, Mexicans. It's everyone. It's
yeah.
It's literally
100% agree, but I'm just saying as a foreign policy. Which, I mean, this is kind of a domestic and foreign policy, but there's a strictly foreign policy with another country. China is the biggest threat, and they're not going to do anything. They're definitely watching, and they're seeing what we're doing around the world. That might dictate some things, but invading Taiwan.
Yeah. Well, I disagree with you, too. I think Iran is a significantly bigger threat because they have. When we talk about China had the world by the balls, Iran low-key is not low-key. They are making plays in the Middle East where they are definitely the number one player in the Middle East right now.
And then we don't know what they're going to do if they get nuclear power. Like they literally don't care if they die. The president of whatever literally said that. Like, yeah, I don't care if I die. Like we're going to kill you.
But if you talk to anyone who was boots on the ground over there, all the biggest people who were the higher up in those regimes said they were the most steadfast, but they were always never the one doing the suicide bombs.
Oh yeah.
Bin Laden, Mr. Rah Taliban himself, he didn't do shit.
No, they kicked down the door and he begged for his life or something like that, right? And they just shot him
for his life, but he put put his wife or his daughter in front of him.
Oh yeah, he did. Yep.
This whole they thought when they landed in the compound, they click the whole
thing.
He
was gonna blow himself up.
Yeah, none of those did that. None of them did that. So
what fools.
I do think the mutual assured destruction aspect of I just don't think that someone with a family and a wife and things to lose looks at the world in a nihilistic way where they want to end it. You know what I'm saying? If you're a leader of Iran and you see
leader of but leader of like some terrorist organization like Hamas or anything like that, people within Hamas, even if they have families, they're so brainwashed. And I mean, I think they're more than willing to probably kill themselves in the pursuit of.
There's definitely someone. Oh, there's 100% people in these terrorist cells. Hell, there's probably someone in the American armed forces who is willing to blow up. You know what I'm saying? There's always the extremists in every organization. But I'm saying those people were outliers. I still have faith in humanity to a point of where maybe I'm just a naive, but I still have faith that his buddy, like, hey, what are you doing, Timmy? Like, yo, Muhammad, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were chilling with the Jews and now we hate them. Like that's
like we're gonna end this whole world because like for what? I still think there's Muhammad to Muhammad be like, yo, bro, what are we doing here?
That's a real conversation they need to have.
Yeah.
Like, can't we just like sneak into Egypt and just like live our lives? Get away from all this.
Yeah, like yo, be like, yo, bro, they have like strip clubs and like air conditioning in Egypt. It's like 40 miles away. Like we got an atomic bomb. How about we put our heads together and get to Egypt? You know,
yeah.
Like, we got taste of the water.
I mean, that's what I would be thinking. But.
Yeah, but we're just American heathens. Nick, you got anything else to add? I know we started with China. We kind of went on a rabbit hole, but this is the Tuesday episode, so it's really paid by the numbers.
No, I think this we talked about quite a bit, and yeah, I mean, China's a huge player is going bankrupt in China. Their infrastructure is just going to get worse and worse, and their population is just getting older and older.
Yes, the real threat, if the real next player, I predict is India. I'm gonna leave it at that. We'll talk
India, really?
Yeah, we'll talk about India and next episode.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you for listening to PTA Real Estate Podcast. God bless. Have a good rest of your day.
God bless.